In the frozen reaches of northern Canada, temperatures drop below -40 degrees. Human survival here is never accidental. The Inuit community living at the edge of Lake Anjikuni were masters of this frozen wilderness. These 30 men, women, and children were perfectly adapted to an environment that would quickly kill anyone else. Keeping a camp like this alive requires a relentless mechanical rhythm. Fires have to burn constantly. Food has to be prepared. Sled dogs are always barking. Life is loud, and it is always moving. In an environment this hostile, total silence signals a collapse of the essential survival systems. In November of 1930, a veteran fur trapper named Joe Labelle was making his way through the territory. He was an experienced woodsman who had visited Anjikuni before, and he knew exactly what this bustling settlement was supposed to look like. But as Labelle approached the village, his expectations clashed with a chilling reality. There were no voices. No figures moving through the snow, just a heavy, total lack of sound. He walked straight into the settlement and found the doors to the homes left wide open. The freezing wind was simply blowing through the empty structures. He spent the next few hours scouring the perimeter, checking every structure. By the end of his search, he confirmed there was not a single living human being anywhere in the camp. Labelle was a seasoned trapper, but his logic was failing. He had checked every structure, and 30 people were simply gone. To understand the sheer impossibility of what Labelle found, you have to treat the village like a forensic scene. In the extreme north, your first priority is maintaining your shelter and your basic domestic routines. Inside the huts, he found food left sitting half-cooked over fires that had long since died out. Outside, daily clothing was left hanging to dry and freeze in the air. You do not leave half-cupped meals and essential clothing behind if you are packing up for a planned migration. Whatever happened at Anjikuni interrupted these people right in the middle of standard daily tasks. Then there is the second unbending rule of the ice. You never, under any circumstances, walk away from your primary tools. Propped up inside the abandoned homes, exactly where they had last been placed, were the villagers' rifles. Leaving a rifle behind in a Canadian winter is a deliberate act of suicide. The fact that the weapons were still there proves that whatever compelled these people to leave bypassed their most deeply ingrained survival instincts. That leads to the third rule of Arctic existence. Your ability to move is a critical lifeline, and that relies almost entirely on sled dogs. At the outer edge of the camp, Labelle made a grim discovery. 7 sled dogs were tightly tied to their wooden posts. Every single one of them was dead from starvation. Inuit culture reveres these animals. They are essential companions and incredibly valuable assets. A hunter would never intentionally abandon their team to suffer and starve on a short leash. Those frozen, tethered dogs act as a macabre biological clock for the investigation. They prove that the disappearance was so instantaneous, the villagers lacked even the few seconds required to slice the ropes and cut their animals loose. Naturally, the first logical assumption is an attack, but the physical facts of the perimeter ruled out a raid entirely. No signs of struggle, no forced entry, and 0 drops of blood. And then came the detail that defies explanation. Despite the snow blanketing the ground, there were 0 footprints or tracks leading away from the abandoned village. Labelle's search then moved to the very edge of the settlement, the ancestral burial ground. The heavy stones marking the resting places had been physically moved aside. The frozen earth was dug up, and the graves were completely opened. The bodies were gone. This is the contradiction of Lake Anjikuni. While the abandoned rifles and tethered dogs suggest the living vanished in a split second, the meticulously emptied graves suggest a deliberate, physically exhausting removal of the dead. Understanding he was standing in the middle of something impossible, Labelle fled through the wilderness to the nearest telegraph station. He broadcast an urgent distress signal. An entire village has vanished. Come immediately. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police mobilized and rode into the site. They officially documented the area and confirmed every bizarre detail that Labelle had reported. They launched a massive investigation across the region, but not a single body, piece of clothing, or logical explanation was ever found. Lake Anjikuni remains a void in the historical record, a case where every survival instinct and physical trace of a community simply ceased to exist.